Hello my loves, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my little work nook currently at my parents in Canada. This is the first video I've made since I've been back home. I just got here a few days ago and I felt that the first video here, it would be fitting to address what's happening in my home country right now. Wild times, powerful times, profound times. If you've been following me on my Instagram, some of you have written and asked about what's happening here. Obviously, this channel is not a political channel, but as I shared in one of my last videos, I feel my mission and my purpose here is to, one, remind us that we aren't alone in our struggles, to remind you that you are not alone in your struggles. You're not alone in this existence, that we're all in this together, we're all connected, and that is unity. So unity is one of my greatest purposes in this lifetime. Love, spreading the greatest wave of love possible while I'm here, and freedom. If you followed my journey, I am all about freedom. I'm all about breaking out of the 9-to-5, breaking out of what is expected of you, and having the freedom of choice. Freedom of choice to live life on your own terms. And finally, equality is a big part of my message here for all beings. So freedom, equality, unity, and love. 4 things I stand for, 4 of my greatest purposes, drives behind everything that I do and everything that I share with you. So this movement currently happening in Canada is the Freedom Convoy. There's actually a bunch of different movements happening, not just in Canada, but around the world. But the biggest one happening right now in our capital city, Ottawa. They're saying over 2.5 million people currently protesting there for love, for unity, for freedom, freedom of choice of what we put into our bodies. And this is not about whether you're vaccinated or not. It's about having the choice if you want to put something into your body, not being told what to do, and also the choice to make a living for yourself, to go to work, to socialize. And when I share anything about freedom of choice in these past couple of years, right away I get responses that basically want to pick a fight with me because I'm unvaccinated, like it's an argument between the two. And the whole purpose of this movement and of what I'm sharing too is that our governments, if you look at what they're sharing, it's division and it's fear. They want us to separate. And the most beautiful thing with what's happening in Canada right now is everyone, no matter your background, no matter your beliefs, no matter if you're vaxxed or not vaxxed, uniting, coming together for our basic human rights. And this doesn't just concern Canadians. Everyone has been affected around the world, globally, the past couple of years. I'm going to share a little bit about my experience last time I came home to Canada, which honestly I didn't share on here because if you've looked back, I have shared horror stories of coming into Canada, my home country's border. I have now been to 67 countries, and the Canadian border is the most challenging border in the world. I've been harassed there, I've been interrogated pretty much every single time I come home. I've left pretty much every time shaking and crying and traumatized by our border. And I knew that I'd share a little bit about this. I can make a separate video too. I'm not going to get into all the details, but I feel I need to share my voice about what happened as well, and just how this all plays into everything that's happening and what we can do individually as well as collectively. So at the start of COVID, I was in Australia. I was traveling around a bit. I continued to travel through the States, through Mexico. Eventually, I wanted to come back home to be with my parents, to feel safe, because traveling as a solo female during the pandemic was scary at times, especially in more undeveloped areas where people just see you like a Western female. Basically, I felt like a wallet, like a human wallet. Like people were just trying to get money from me, and not the normal tourist ways, but like people were trying to trick me. Even Airbnbs, it was this huge thing, and I just wasn't feeling safe anymore. So I wanted to come home, and I ended up getting COVID on my way to the Canadian border. And I'm not going to get too deep into this because it's just insane the way that I was treated. But firstly, they turned me down at the border because I had COVID. So if I hadn't had the money to book a hotel out of nowhere for 1 month in Washington, I don't even know what I would have done. So I'm in Washington for a month, paying for a hotel, waiting for a negative test. And it never came until it was the last day of my visa in America. I called the Canadian embassy and I asked them what I should do. The Canadian embassy, same thing they told me a month prior, overstay illegally in America. That's the Canadian embassy telling me to do that, and don't come home. If you know anything about America, if you overstay there, you get kicked out for minimum 10 years. And my friends are in America. America is more my home than Canada the past decade. And every connecting flight from Canada stops in California or stops somewhere in America. I wouldn't be able to catch those flights. Along with a million other things, like all of my traveling to different countries, if it shows that I'm kicked out of America, that would literally affect my whole life, all my travels, my career, everything. And I explained that to the Canadian embassy, and that was still what they were told to tell me. Don't come home. Stay illegally. Obviously, I didn't do that. I came through. I was screamed at. I was almost detained. They told me if they were detaining me, I had to wait like an hour to find out if I was going to be detained or not. And they told me, I had my dog Priya with me, that I wouldn't even get to know what happens with my dog. They said I'd be detained for 17 or 18 days, I can't remember. During that time, I wouldn't even know what happened to my dog. And Vancouver, where I was driving through, is like 4 hours from my parents, so they weren't able to come meet me last minute. Then I get fined over $6,000 for testing positive. And right now, if you're Canadian and you come home positive, again, you get a $5,000 fine. So these things into consideration, along with hundreds of other things during this pandemic, it's not about our health. It's very, very clear. And where did that money that I had to pay even go? And a lot of people told me to fight it. And the thing is, I looked into it at the time. I said, I'm not paying that. And they told me that I wouldn't be able to renew my passport or my driver's license if I didn't pay that fine. And I was leaving Canada because I just couldn't stay here due to all the restrictions. It was really depressing. They made me quarantine for almost 2 months by myself. It really affected my well-being. I'm used to being active. I'm used to being in nature. I'm used to going to the gym. I'm used to socializing. And it was just me alone for that month in Washington as well. 3 months of last year was spent alone in quarantine, and it did really affect me. And I haven't really opened up about this because they threatened me so much at the border that I was afraid to talk about it. But with everything coming to light right now, and I knew I would eventually share this, I'm not getting too in depth with everything that was said, but they basically told me the 4-hour drive. And I shouldn't be sharing this online, but the only reason that I got out of detainment was that I lied. I'm not gonna share what, because this could get me into trouble, but I wasn't honest about something that was able to get me home, because my thought process was I just need to get my dog to my parents and then they can arrest me or detain me from there, which they told me an officer was coming to do so, and no officer ever came. They also told me the 4-hour drive, someone would be following me, and if they find out I get out of my vehicle for anything, so even if I had to stop and use the washroom, anything like that, that police would be called and I would be detained. So, and they're scary at the border. Like, they're yelling. I was shaking. I'm already sick. I've been sick for a month by myself in a hotel. Like, my energy's so low and I don't want to be yelled at. So anyways, all this into consideration, none of this has been about our health, and it hasn't been about our safety at all, because I've felt more unsafe and more powerless due to our government the past 2 years than I ever have in my life. And now with this freedom movement, if you look at, for example, what our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is even saying about this, his response so far has just been division and hatred. And it's a really, honestly, powerful time to be alive, to witness all of this coming up in the collective. And I've known I've had this feeling inside of myself my whole life, that things have been stirring up and they're going to come to surface in this lifetime for me. A lot of other people I talk to, especially in the spiritual community, say the same thing. Like, it's been brewing for a while and we've seen this, and there's people, you know, who have had the veils over their eyes and now they're being lifted, and it's so beautiful to see. These times are hard. They're difficult, and it's hard to use your voice, and it's hard to stand up. But if this is showing anything, look it up if you haven't. Freedom Convoy 2022 on Instagram. I'm just following them on Instagram. I'm crying every day watching their convoy. There's over 2.6 million people, apparently. And there was over 70 miles, is what they said, of trucks coming to our capital. Now they're at the capital. They just got there 2 days ago. It's just been incredible to see. In our town here at my parents', there's about 2,000 people here, and we had our own convoy this past Saturday. There was like the whole town, I think, when we were driving to, everyone was out of their houses. And our prime minister is saying it's the minority, but it's very clear that this is the majority of Canadians, and we're in it right now. And apparently it's inspiring other convoys around the world. And I just want to share about this because it's really a representation. Like, you guys, this was one person's idea. Something this massive, a movement like this, comes from one person saying, we should do this. And then a group forming. And then all of these people across the nation that have felt alone for the past 2 years, that have been scared to use their voice. Even me, from my experience last year, like, it's taken me this long to really openly share about it. And I still, because of the threats I received at my border, I'm still scared to speak completely open about it. Because when they find me and told me I can't get my passport, I can't get my driver's license, that's my livelihood. That's everything I live for. I haven't even lived in Canada in the past decade. I don't want to get stuck here. It's a really scary feeling to feel that powerless. And it just takes, you know, one person, small group of people, to give others permission to come together and to stand up for their rights. In this area, there's some gyms as well that just refuse. They've had enough, and they're not putting in the mask mandates. They're choosing to stay open for their communities' physical and mental well-being. The gym in this town, I just found out when I got here, is permanently closed because of COVID. And that really affects me because the gym is something that keeps me uplifted, especially during these times. So again, we have to question, and I hope you've been questioning through this whole thing, all of the things that don't add up. The news, if you watch mainstream news right now, and this is a really big thing as well, people are starting to wake up to how incorrect the news is, how unreliable the mainstream media is, because they are hiding a lot and not covering a lot. Even global news, like international news, is covering a lot of what's happening in Ottawa right now. So if you head over to that Instagram account, that's why I recommend it, because you're actually seeing what's happening. And you see them speaking to police officers. They're all saying, yes, everything's being, except for a few individuals of the over 2 million people, it's all been love, it's all been unity and joy. Everyone's really happy to be together, especially after spending the last 2 years inside, isolated. But then you look on the news, and my parents watch the news here, and it's like straight to, one person had a Nazi flag. These people vandalized this person's place. When a group this large comes together, that's going to happen. And I do want to share about that because I've had people write me on my Instagram asking why there's people with Nazi flags. As far as I know, it was one small group of people of the over 2 million people. There's also some rumors that's white supremacists, because a few of the members of the convoy have apparent relations to this. It's a very touchy subject, so I'm not going to get too into my opinion on it, but just keep in mind there's so many people, and when you watch the videos, it's families, it's children, it's people thanking these truckers and thanking everyone who's there for standing up for our rights and our freedoms after we've had so many taken away Like, this really should not be allowed. We've had so many rights taken away. I have personally too, with my experience just from being Canadian, trying to come home. People have lost their homes, their businesses, and at one point we're either just going to fully comply to what's happening and just become literally sheep, or we're going to stand up. And I'm really, really glad that's what's happening. I am fully for it. I almost went to Ottawa. I was looking at flights because I'm like, let's go, let's do this. Yeah, so I'm ready to support in any way. That's why I'm sharing this video as well. And again, it's not about, you know, if you're vaccinated, if you're not, if you even agree with the mandates or not. It's that we have the choice. What I ask from this beautiful community is to use your voice, to figure out how you can help this, how you can use it in a way that helps others, that helps this movement of love and freedom. I think it's really needed. I was a little nervous making this video because it is a touchy subject. Everyone is very emotionally involved in this situation, and I really do try my best on my platforms to come from a neutral position and not make anyone ever feel left out, because that's, as I said, my first one quality that I stand for is unity. So really respecting everyone's points of view and just, yeah, standing up for our basic human rights. And with all that being said, if you found your way onto this video, I'd like to do just a short little meditation together to spread some love, to spread some connection for all of our brothers and sisters and beings that are currently suffering on the planet due to restrictions and mandates, due to governments that take away our power and our rights, due to all the suffering that's happening on our planet right now through these huge changes that are happening. And that's the thing, you guys, when change is happening, when healing is taking place, it first brings everything to surface, and it hurts, and there's suffering. But I really do believe that if you were born and living at this time on our planet, it's because you're a warrior or a warrioress. You're strong enough to be alive during these times, and you're strong enough to make a difference and create change during these times. So honoring all of you for being here at this time and space with me on our planet during these wild times. They're weird times. Every day through this pandemic, literally every day, I'm like, is this for real? Even right now, looking at our prime minister's reactions to what's going on and just everything that's happening, I'm like, is this really real? Is this really happening? But everything's being brought to surface, and I am in full surrender of whatever may come from this, because right now we're in it and we don't know. The future's uncertain, and it's a bittersweet space to be in. Things are uncertain, but in this space, it's pure potentiality. And we get to choose our individual actions, which way we want the collective to move. And our individual choices do make a difference. So thank you so much for watching this, my loves. If you have any experience with this too, comment below. And yeah, just welcoming you to do a little meditation with me just for a couple moments. So sitting up where you are, unless of course you're driving, you can do this later. Gently closing the eyes and just bringing awareness to the breath, to your heart space. This is one of my favorite meditations. You may have done it with me before. It's called Atisha's meditation. And with your awareness in your heart space, our hearts are our greatest alchemists. So it can take any suffering and alchemize it into love, into light, into connection and healing. So envisioning now any suffering taking place, those who have lost their jobs, their homes, who are in an uncertain space in their lives, who are afraid for their lives, for survival, for everyone who's currently suffering and has suffered due to this pandemic, these past couple of years. Those who are living in fear, hatred, separation, anger, honoring everyone for wherever they're at in their path right now. No one is right or wrong. They just are. And we're all in this together, wherever we may be on our path, on our unique journey. And now envisioning perhaps a group of people, or everyone, if you can, if your imagination is that big. All those people who are suffering. We're going to breathe into our mouth like a straw and envisioning sucking up all that pain, all that suffering, all that anger, hatred, separation. Sucking up like a straw into the heart space to be alchemized into love and light. Sucking it up from that situation, from those people, into our hearts. And as you blow out of the mouth, blowing love and healing onto those same people, onto that same situation. Continuing this breath. Inhaling separation, fear, suffering into the heart space. Exhaling love, empowerment, freedom, lightness. Inhaling pain, exhaling love. Knowing that we are all connected and the collective feels our vibration individually. Your individual choices make a difference. Don't ever doubt that. Blowing love, unity, and peace onto those people, that situation. Couple more breaths. Resting here for a moment, placing your hands over the heart space. And just a prayer to anyone who feels alone at this time, to anyone who's fearful for their lives, for their livelihood, for any hatred being held in the collective, to heal, to transmute into a higher vibration. And just holding space, holding those suffering within our hearts, knowing that we are never alone. This has been a great reminder that we are all in this together. When we use our voices and when we take action, we remember this. We remember we aren't alone, and we remember the power of our actions and of our choices. And bring your hands into prayer. When you're ready, gently blinking the eyes open. So thank you so much for watching this video this far. I appreciate it deeply. I appreciate you listening to my voice, to my story here. And yeah, I really wish everyone healing. If you're interested in these movements currently happening, the gym near here is called Iron Energy Gym. Check them out. There's also one called Save Small Businesses BC. These are local ones. I'll link them below as well. And the Freedom Convoy 2022 if you want to see what's actually happening and stay up to date with everything beyond the mainstream news. I'm not going to get too much into my personal opinion of what's happening. I am in full support of it, but just giving you the information so you can go have a look and see how you feel about it yourself. I'm never trying to push my perspective onto my viewers here, onto this community. I just like to empower you to go make your own decisions and your own research. So thank you again for watching this. Know that you are not alone with whatever you may be going through right now. We are in this together. You are loved, you are appreciated, and I will see you in my next video. Love you guys.